Welcome to The Lost Signals Discusses Film and TV. Using the revolutionary Manzur-Ramosi Thurlow scale,
or MONS,
we scrupulously review these art forms with an emphasis on narrative structure. Join us for another entertaining episode.
Hello, and welcome to The Lost Signals Discusses Film and Television. My name is Chris Morgan. Happy holidays. I'm here with my colleagues, Stephen Ramosi.
Hey.
Scott Thurlow.
Wonder Women.
And our always lovely to see him, Mr. Richard Perry.
Happy to be here.
It's good to see you, man.
Right on.
Listen, happy holidays, everybody.
Happy
Today we are talking about WW84, otherwise known as Wonder Woman 2, Wonder Woman 1984, and I believe Scott has a log line.
Yeah, I mean, why don't they just go with Wonder Woman Wishmaster 4 or 84?
Son of a bitch! That was gonna be my log line if you didn't say you were gonna.
Like I said, it's obvious, right? So, but that's
great.
Essentially what I've got. So yeah, there you go.
Or Wonder Woman Enter the Monkey's Paw.
Yeah, exactly. Wonder Woman, the Twilight
And the
Zone
Monkey's Paw, 84. Yeah.
So yes, and Steve-O, that leaves us with you with plot, I do believe.
Yeah, sure. We got a somewhat of a plot here.
We got a plot. Yes.
Movie opens. I have to mention this. The movie opens with this like ridiculous, like long scene of little 5-year-old Diana like almost beating all these full-grown Amazons at some crazy race
at the Olympic Games, obviously.
And she gets
the Olympics.
And she gets pulled off it on a technicality, like not allowed to win on a technicality because she was smart enough to understand that she had to, like, move through the maze in a different way than she was like supposed
she lost
to.
Her horse and had to
I think they should give her more points for that.
She also didn't hit her target.
Yeah, so she missed a target because she dropped her bow, and she was like, "All right, I just got to get to the end." And you know what? Fuck all those other Amazons. She won.
Those are the rules. Like I don't tell you. You missed the target.
Honestly, I guarantee you that like they were very bitter about that. They're like,
cool.
we almost lost to this 5-year-old. Like we got to pick our shit up.
It'd be super embarrassing for everybody else competing. And you know what? Sure, disqualify her or whatever, but don't like pull her off the course at the end when she's about to like finish first. Come on, man.
That was the DQ.
That was the beginning of themes in this movie that don't ever really get followed up upon. But
So that was the opening scene, yes.
So that's the opening scene. I just wanted to touch on that. Basically, Diana is in 1984. She meets a very what the hell's her name? Kristen Wiig's character is like very
Dr. Minerva.
Yeah, Barbara Minerva, and she's very she is not sure of herself. Let's say to say the least. She finds a rock that is sent to her by the FBI because it was involved in a robbery at a mall.
Market tearing ring or something.
Both Barbara and Diana make wishes on this rock in the like 5 seconds that they're both touching it. Thereby bringing back I was wondering how they were going to do this, and I guess it makes sense in terms of the story, but bringing back Steve, Chris Pine, dreamy ass Chris Pine, and for Barbara making her more like Diana. She gets some powers. Enter what the hell's his name? Max Lord. Max Lord as Pedro Pascal as Max Lord, who knows what the rock is, turns himself into the rock, thereby granting himself wishing powers, and he gets to, because he's the monkey pawn now, he gets to draw like the best things from each of these people, which doesn't really make all that much sense to me. Like the monkey paw doesn't get the best things from you. It just like is a weird wish.
Maybe he gets to set the terms now that he's a monkey's paw.
Yeah, I guess so.
If you don't mind, before we go on, like I want to ask Rich this specifically. Is that a thing from the comics, like the Dreamstone or whatever, or Wishmaster, Max Lord, etc.? I know Max Lord is a character.
Max Lord is like a shady businessman, and that's about it.
Right.
Yeah.
So he was that in this, and then he becomes like the Dreamstone itself. But I'm saying, that has never been a thing from the comics originally. Is
not that I'm aware of.
Okay,
but I could be wrong.
All right.
There's a lot of Wonder Woman lore that I am not familiar with.
Yeah.
All right.
So anyway, he turns himself into the monkey's paw. He works his way up the chain of command until he, gets the president to wish that he had more nukes near the Russians, because that's what every president wants apparently. And
maybe that's what you want.
Yeah, I guess so. And it just like shit goes bad until. And also, Kristen Wiig is gaining confidence and losing herself or whatever in the process because she's super strong. She's like Diana now because of the wish. Also, Max Lord has a son who doesn't really matter all that much. Anyway, until the end when he changes his mind about how bad he wants to be. So like they go. Max Lord becomes like super powerful. He finds a way to touch, like you have to be touching him to make a wish, and the part where he's like touching everyone through the particles of the TV thing was a little bit shady to me.
A little strange.
Anyway, so he's touching like everybody in the world who sees his broadcast. They all make wishes. He gets super strong, and apparently it's hurting him too, which is kind of ill-defined throughout the thing, but he heals himself through the wishes of other people. He can like take their health. And then Wonder Woman, uses the lasso of truth to show him that he's hurting his son, and then he decides that he wants to be a good person. He renounces his wish, and so does everybody in the world also, apparently.
Shows them the truth of their lives.
Didn't all those people get their wishes from him making his initial wish? So wouldn't him renouncing his wish renounce all those wishes?
Yeah, that's what I thought.
But apparently everybody else had to renounce their wishes too, which they all did for some reason. And then because everyone in the world is good, apparently.
Honestly, I bet there was one holdout, and it was Coffee Guy from the beginning of the movie.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, no, I really enjoyed that cup of coffee. I'm not renouncing that.
I'm not giving this coffee back ever.
But to be fair, that he didn't make the wish on after Max was already the stone. He made it on the actual stone. So that wouldn't have gone away. He's still drinking that coffee to this day.
Have that coffee.
And then that's it. And then that's it. Like, that's the whole end of the story. There's an important part where Diana has to renounce her wish to bring Steve back, so he just goes away or whatever after he says he loves her. And that's it. Not much in this movie made any difference to the universe at large, as far as I can tell, because they just wished it all away at the end. And I don't know. I felt this was a weak plot. Like, it was, not only was it not a great plot, it didn't really involve 1984 all that much, except for a few jokes here and there. Like, they could have made this in any time and it really wouldn't have mattered. I don't know why it was 1984 and not current day. B, it's doesn't matter for like the Wonder Woman / DC overall universe all that much, as far as I can tell. Maybe they have like some little things that are going to come up in later movies or whatever, but a lot of this movie just got wished away. Like, it never fucking happened. And see, like, I guess this is supposed to be closure for Diana and Steve's whole thing, but they already had that. And this is kind of like opening a wound again just to make her, pine after Chris Pine, if you will.
Fuck you. Terrible fun.
But I don't love this plot at all. I'm going to probably give it a 1, unless you guys got something for me to change my mind.
Chris is clearly dying to say something.
Well, I was going to say, I can speak. Well, I'll just speak now. First of all, I do know why they said it in 1984. Because if they sent it in the current day, everybody would wish away Dawn of Justice. So there's that.
Obviously why.
Sure.
Also, I think they probably used 1984 to have the excuse of everybody wishing for nukes.
I mean, yeah, it's Cold War era thing. I was gonna say that if you didn't, like someone else didn't, like, yes.
I mean, I can wrap this up if you guys.
I think it would have been just as effective.
Well, the implications of the fact that Beth reminded me of this. She goes, one of the creepy things about this is the fact that Chris Pine's soul was in the body of a stranger. So basically, this stranger was more or less raped.
We were actually just talking about that.
Yeah, it's really creepy. And the one thing about the beginning, that race, is I was thinking this did not need to be this long. which is basically what you could say about the rest of the movie. It did not need to be this long. This movie could have been an hour and 45 minutes. I was not thrilled with the plot, and I absolutely positively agree with Steve. I'm giving this thing a 1.
I mean, I'm pretty close. Like, I would say, like, at best, it's a 1.75, which I might round up to an R, like a fine-ish, like a very soft 2. And like, but I'd largely agree, like, yeah, 2.5 hours is too long for this film. It doesn't need to be that. They could have condensed a number of parts, and maybe this flows into other questions. But yeah, Steve, I was a bit confused on the rules of the Dreamstone, if you will. Like, it's a little odd,
exactly.
Like, a little unclear why and how exactly this happens this way, like how it shakes down.
Because she gets sorry. No, she gets like really close to explaining exactly what's wrong with it. Because like she gets more and more freaked out the more she finds out about it. And then at one point it's just like, oh, don't worry about it. This guy's really evil. And whoever made this, like, we just need to get it back.
I feel like there's a whole scene, like a 10-minute long scene where they explained that it was Loki, and they were like, oh shit, we can't do that because that's Marvel.
Yeah. They're doing a bunch of exposition, whatever. But one other thing I was going to say, like, Chris, obviously the reason it's 1984 and like all like if you're watching this, you could see Steve-O's background. To me, it was like they tried to be the Thor Ragnarok of DC movies. Like that's what they were trying to go for.
Mm-hmm.
Did they get there? I don't think so. But I think
without the writing,
that's what they wanted to do. But anyway, all I'm saying is like at best, I'll give it a 2 to plot. For the nitpicks, more than nitpicks, for the complaints and the plot holes and like the sort of like just the gaps in the explanations, even like with them having exposition that just wasn't enough anyways. So like I'll give it an all right 2, but I could be talked down to a 1. But I'll give it a little bit of benefit because you're right, it was an enjoyable ride. And my final thought is like, yeah, the opening scene was cool, it looked impressive, but it also could have been cut in half roughly or so. So
like the movie.
Yeah. What do you think, Rich?
I agree. It could have been trimmed down a lot. I enjoyed her journey throughout the whole thing. But there were like a lot of the characters had their storylines a little dragged out, but then didn't really get like a conclusion. Like we still don't know what happened with Dr. Minerva.
And she became Cheetah, right? What's her character, Rich? Like
Cheetah,
she
became Cheetah.
Yeah, she became Cheetah and then unbecame Cheetah.
Yeah.
She was still like,
but like she could still be carrying around Diana's strength because like she only had to renounce one wish, or that one wish got taken away by him not being the stone anymore. She still had the other one that she made beforehand.
Like I don't understand how she got 2 wishes either. Like how did that happen?
I don't know. He was like at the end he was giving multiple wishes.
He was giving her.
Yeah.
He was like, you get strength and stuff.
Yeah, because that's not the first time he did that either.
And I think he only did that with her.
Yeah,
because he got in the car and he was like, you already made a wish, didn't you? Ah shit, I gotta go find somebody else or whatever.
But like he did it again for somebody else. I can't remember.
But I think that he almost did it twice on his kid, but I think his kid only got off one wish.
So
but
like when
what I think happened was that second wish that she made wasn't actually a wish. He just like gave her some of the
that's what I'm saying.
Power that he got from other people.
Oh yeah, he did that. Oh yeah. Yeah, because like she said she wished to be an apex predator.
Yep.
But he never actually said it was granted. And then you're right, he did shuffle some of the side effects on.
Yeah, he was like, give her that shit. All right, that's what I'm doing.
Yeah, that's all I wanted to
when
point
he
out.
was like siphoning it into himself.
When he was sucking up all the god or whatever, he was like, and I'll give you strength and rage and whatever.
Yeah.
He was pointing at her. So anyway, to be clear,
I guess that was that.
That explains that like to that extent, I suppose.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I enjoyed it. I actually really like the intro because I love seeing more of Amazon culture.
Yeah.
But I wish it would do more with that sometimes instead of. Seems like now they're just really long. I feel like they wanted to do that too, where they're just like, oh man, like everybody loved Themyscira. Let's show a bunch of it, even though we only needed to give this one line of dialogue that serves as a lesson that Diana needs to learn.
Yeah, no,
well, like that's not even like that. That's the other thing. Like they have this like really like line of this this thing that she's given by who is it? Antiope. How we pronounce her name?
Robin Wright's character. And
Princess
then,
Buttercup.
like, it's not like hammered home in any way in the movie. It's like, all right, I guess that kind of applies to what happens later, but like, I forget what exactly she said. She's like, you have to keep your eyes open. And
the truth will set you free.
What's going on? Like, take your time or whatever. And it's like, this isn't actually themes of this movie.
Well, like the main thing was that you can't hide from the truth. That was like the main takeaway from it.
Yeah, I guess so. But like, there was a lot to that speech that I was like, oh, this could be cool. Like later on, this could play into what's going on, and it didn't really. But I wanted to say it was enjoyable while I was watching it. But like the more I think about this movie, the further it breaks down. So it's not like I didn't have fun. And I honestly, I did watch it, and then I watched like the last 40 minutes of it again when I got home from Christmas. My roommate was watching it. Lou was watching it. So like I caught the end of it again, which I caught a couple things that were like, oh, that's why that happened. That was like he didn't actually grant her the second wish type of thing. Like, but I was kind of disappointed because this is written by Patty Jenkins and Jeff Johns, and
I didn't know if you wrote it too.
Yeah, I like Jeff Johns, comic stuff, and I know he's done a bunch of consulting and writing on a bunch of these movies, but it was pretty disappointing the way that everything panned out in terms of the script. I thought it could have been a lot better.
Jeff Johns is the Kevin Feige of the DC universe.
Yeah, but he also wrote the.
Yeah, I know.
He co-wrote this script.
Well, anyway,
I know. I don't know. I don't think he co-writes every single one of them, but this one he got.
But this one he did too. So I'm sticking with the soft 2 at this point, but I see your guys as 1 for sure, and I don't begrudge that at all.
Whoa! I gave it a 2 as well.
All right, so yeah,
2 for Rich,
okay.
2 for Scott, 1's for me.
Rich.
Okay, which moves us over to Scott with themes.
So, Steve, you actually touch upon it, and I'm going to expand and agree that, like, yes, I guess the whole point of that opening Themyscira, like, Olympic event scene was to teach her that young Diana, like, what you said, Rich, like, you must be open to the truth and only the truth matters and blah, blah, blah. Like, okay, but, like, how does that exactly apply to what happened in the rest of the film? I'm not sure it does, per se, like, or if it does, it's, like, more than a bit of a stretch to me to apply it to what happened. Like, I can see, I guess, what they were going for, but you're right, like, the script writing just, if that's what they meant to set up and then pay off, I don't think it was necessarily paid off in that way, or at least the way they wanted it to be, or thought it was going to be. So to me, like, I'm looking at, a softer, maybe a default 0, like, and maybe I'll say it here, Steve, as well, like, yes, I enjoyed this film well enough while watching it, but now as we're talking it out in retrospect a bit, I don't know if it holds up all that well, like, in terms of that, especially in terms of how we do our scale. So for this question and for those very reasons that I just said, I'm looking at a 0 as of now for themes, and I will then open it up to you guys.
Well, one of my big problems was that the final. I'm cool with smaller scale stories, like when she thwarted the robbery at the end, and when she was trying to hide her identity. I would have been really happy with a Wonder Woman 1984 kind of along the lines of Spider-Man Homecoming, where it's a smaller story. We're not talking about the end of the world, etc. Sure. But the problem is, at the end of it, you've got all this stuff happening, and she's holding the lasso of truth, which was a cool reveal, but she's basically mumbling the theme of the movie. Like, I did not, like, you're fighting to listen to what the fuck she's saying. She's like, I understand she's trying to regain her powers and she's almost beaten, and she's just like mumbling this stuff. And it's just this long, it's just this like, it's weird, like, the soliloquy I cannot fucking hear. So yeah, there are themes. I understand it, but Scott, you're right with the execution. It ain't working for me. I'm giving it a 0.
You think, Rich?
Yeah, like I get exactly what they were going for. It was clunky because they mentioned it a couple times. They mentioned a few times throughout the movie that like truth being a big thing. Like, you can't, like, there are no shortcuts to getting things back, and you can't lie to yourself, and the dreamstone being built upon lies, and people got to be honest with themselves in order to do the right thing. But the execution,
They've said all that shit.
Yeah, but it was like you said, the execution wasn't really there. So I might have to give themes a 0.
Yeah, I think I agree with you guys. It's interesting to see. Like I said, the whole speech at the beginning of the movie when they pull her out of contention to finish the race is about a lot of stuff. It's not focused And it could have been fine if this movie was about all those things, but it was really only about one of the things that she talks about. And and barely about that. Exactly. Even as you guys have mentioned, like, you know, it is like, so I think they think they're talking about truth in this, but like this could be a different truth very easily, right? Like the important thing that you're supposed to take away from this is like greed is bad, right? Like it's, you know, it's not about like the things that you want being false. It's about like the being like understanding that asking for more than you deserve, or like, you know, taking the shortcut to getting those things that you're greedy for is bad. It's not like having those things is bad if you get them, you know, on your own merits, but that's never discussed in this or anything. It's a very simplistic look at like kind of the you know, monkey paw, you know, wish is bad, but like, you know, at the beginning,
but it's not even that. Like, sorry,
at the beginning they're talking about like what the spirit could be, that, or like the god or whatever that could be that is actually granting the wishes, and they're like, well, maybe hope or something. And like, what, like I was thinking about that at the end. I was like, what if it was a god of hope? Problem solved. Like none of this is a problem anymore, right? Like they still are like taking a shortcut to get all the shit that they want, and none of this is like bad anymore, right? Like, I don't know. It just seems like an empty like theme to me. It seems like an empty like moral to me, I guess.
Or like, yeah, it just didn't hit the mark. Like, and I guess the most funny / ironic thing to me is like, of course, on the surface you'd say the theme is be careful what you wish for, but they didn't even like get to that. Like, you know, it's not quite like you said, like the monkey's paw deal. It's not the same thing. So yeah, it ends up being this weird like bastard version of it that doesn't get there. Like you said, Rich, it's clunky, and that's why I'm giving it a 0. Just sticking with the 0.
Okay, so it's 0s all around.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, yeah, I'm just gonna say one more thing about the God thing. I mean, they did manifest war in the first film, so there is no reason why Pedro Pascal's character could not have been the manifestation instead of having the rock thing. So that's all I'm gonna say.
There's like that would be kind of cool if like each villain turned out to be another god that she had to track down and kill.
Yeah.
More
or like each of these movies.
Kill your gods.
I mean, maybe it will be, you know.
I mean, just Kratos it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly. So Rich, we are on to you with Antagonist.
All right. So we have 2 for this movie. And they are Pedro Pascal's Maxwell Lord and Kristen Wiig's Dr. Barbara Minerva, which is an interesting name.
Same with 2 first names.
Yeah. But each one of them ended up becoming evil over the course of the movie. And not really evil per se, just very selfish.
Yeah.
And like the more power they gained came at the expense of everyone else. And it was more like their antagonistic actions were a side effect of their journey, which I liked. I appreciated that they had Wonder Woman beat them by empathizing with them rather than just like beating them to death. But also I feel like I don't know, there wasn't really like a lasting damage that they did. I mean, yeah, there was like collateral damage from all the wishes gone haywire, but they kind of like sweep that under the rug.
Yeah, exactly.
But like honestly, like they both weren't really villains per se, just like free therapy for Diana to get past her lost love.
Free therapy.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, like the thing is, I totally get that. It's really well said. I love it. But I guess I'll say it this way, like, I like Pedro Pascal as an actor. I don't know if what they work with as a antagonist in quotes / villain again in quotes. Like, I actually liked Kristen Wiig's character development and her like dynamic, like her foil being a foil for Diana, like a lot better. Like I felt it was more personal. Right?
I wanted if they were gonna have, I wish instead of having both villains be redeemed, to have one of them go further off the deep end. And I think
that would have worked better.
Dr. Minerva was like the clear choice for somebody who was going to just go straight and appear like full evil.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that. Like, I thought that would have been like, I agree that it would have been an interesting and better choice.
Like, it would have been great if they did a follow up to show her, like, I don't know, searching for other ways to get that power back.
Yeah,
rather
like
than just like
or whatever, or something like. So I feel like I felt that was the most interesting aspect of the antagonist dynamic, if you will. But I don't know if it's like it might be just enough over the line, like mostly for Kristen Rick / the Dr. Barber's angle like part, because like Pedro wasn't again like Max Lord wasn't necessarily a bad dude. He just was trying to shortcut his way to victory and power, and like he like you said, he sort of like accidentally fucked everyone over, not intentionally in a sense, until the very end when you realize, like I think you brought it up earlier, Steve, like, oh, the power of the stone, of being the stone, is killing me slowly, so I have to take a bit of health from everyone who wishes upon me, I guess, to keep myself alive. Yeah. But he wasn't like, it's like
they didn't explain that all that well.
It kind of reminded me a little bit of Preacher, where they like revealed that they could take away like a little bit of somebody's soul, and they're like, what's 0.1% of the soul?
Your soul or whatever. Yeah, it was, you're right, Chris. Like, it was so like generic in the sense, like, oh, you see the black veins in his eyes, he's bleeding from the nosebleeds and ear, from the ears, and like his eyes are all bloodshot. Like, clearly the stone is messing with him, but why and how? Like, I guess is this what happens?
Why is this? Yeah, does the stone actually take damage when it gives wishes?
Yeah, I don't know.
Probably not. Like, right? Isn't he become the stone?
I feel like that would have been like something he should have read about before he really jumped. Yeah,
he did do a shit of research clearly. Like, yeah, I don't know. Like, it just seemed like it may be like
that would have been a nice. That would have been a nice thing to like throw into there too. Like that could be the reason. Like have him start stealing people's health earlier.
Yeah. Would have explained that a little bit more at least. It would have made a little bit more sense is all. But sure, so like I might be looking at like a 0.6 to Kristen / Cheetah and the rest to Pedro as Max Lord, like maybe just enough. But like I'm not. I could be convinced to go down to a 0 as well. So that's what I'm thinking. So what do you boys think?
Yeah, so like I have my nitpicks with both of these characters, but at the end of the day, to be honest, they're fine antagonists for me as far as this movie goes. I enjoyed both of the acting performances for sure. I thought that
they were good as
did have a pretty good, Kristen Wiig's character, Barbara Minerva did have a pretty good, or at least an interesting arc. The one thing that really bugged me was that like the scene where they show that she's turning bad is she like beats the living shit out of her would-be rapist, and they're like, and then the guy's like, "What are you doing?" She's like, "Mind your business." Like, yeah, fucking beating the shit out of this rapist guy. Like, fuck you, fuck him. Like,
I'm all down
why,
for
hold
that.
on, why is this the scene that shows she's turning bad? Like,
it's their start of dark.
I think it was more the fact that she went further than she needed to.
Sure.
Like she literally kicked out all of his teeth.
Good. She should have
kept beating the shit out of him.
I was going to say, beating up a sexual predator is not being evil.
Beating them to death is.
Not when you've already gotten beat up for it and they come back again at you. This is like somebody who is not going to change in any way. Fuck that guy.
Yeah, seriously, I'm with Steve on this one.
I mean, I get it, but like, come on. She already beat the shit out of him and he was unconscious and then just kept going.
Yeah.
The last two kicks to the face,
horrible trauma.
But that doesn't make her evil. That makes her, that's a different thing. It's not a good or bad thing. It's just,
okay.
There's a lot of emotion behind it. It's not really,
Yeah, I guess
something I can't.
It was just a weird
but it's like if had that happened the very first night, yes, I'd agree. But she was like already walking past him and then turned back. She's like, "Oh, hey, remember last time?" And then did it. And I guess I don't know.
Maybe the second time you're right.
Anyways,
but also, like they could have found another way to do that instead of like somebody that you're clearly supposed to hate anyway.
Yeah, like fuck that guy. But
I was like, even afterwards, I was just like, I mean, hope he's not dead.
I'm not gonna lose any sleep over it.
Wonder Woman wouldn't have killed him, but Cheetah could have, and I guess that's where we're supposed to like draw the difference there. But
Yeah, you look at them, it's like, all right, cool, but like, what's this guy gonna do the next time somebody walks by? Clearly, getting the shit beaten out of him the first time didn't change him at all. So when somebody can't defend themselves walk by, I'd rather him not. I'd rather him think twice about it. Anyway,
He's the real villain of the story.
and perhaps that dude went overboard, or perhaps she went overboard on that dude. But like, also, I'm not crying over that. I don't think that's her evil moment. Like
No,
it's a weird choice. Like if that was supposed to be her setup, like we're supposed to like. She's turning evil, but
actually,
I think
her evil moment. Her evil moment was probably, for me at least, more so was when she actually turned on Diana.
Right.
I mean,
when she defends Max Lord.
Yeah.
But even at that point, she doesn't really know what's going on. I don't think she just kind of like sees that he's getting attacked, and she likes him. And kind of
it's like that was after they told her that like they need to stop him so that the wishes can go back. She's like, wait,
oh yeah,
do that.
Right.
Exactly.
She wants to keep that way.
That was her motivation there, and that of course made a lot more sense. At least that fit in at least with the greater gears of the plot at large and the characters. Sure.
Yeah. But again, I still don't see that. I think you're right, or whoever said it earlier. Like, I don't see either of these characters as like really evil. They're just like very selfish and like, they have found something that promises them what they want, and it's hard to turn down for anybody, even Diana, the like true hero of this, even though she's the first one to renounce her wish. But yeah, I'm gonna give these characters a 1. They at least made the 2.5 hours bearable. Like if it was all Diana and Steve like with their freaking love story, I would have fucking gouged my eyes out. So like they were fun throughout most of the story at least, so I'll give them a 1.
You know what? Yeah, I mean, I think maybe that is the thing that pushed me over the line. Like, because they weren't just one-dimensional cardboard cutout, mustache-twirling evil, like, they had more depth to them, like, at least spread out between the two, that it's enough for me to give it an okay, solid 1. And yes, both actors were quite good, so I'll give it credit there.
I'm always...
Sorry, I thought it was my turn.
No, go ahead if you want to. I can finish this up. I mean, I got Protagonist next, so go ahead, figure it out.
Oh, yeah, I'm going to give them both a 1. I really enjoyed them.
I always find two villains in these things dubious, because it's kind of like we want to fit all these villains in, but we've got at best a trilogy. Mm-hmm. So let's double up on them. Now, if you want to take the Nolan trilogy, where the first one, like Scarecrow is basically, Ra's al Ghul's arm in Gotham. Two-Face, Harvey Dent becomes the Joker's final weapon. Okay. Sure. And in the last film, you've got Talia and Bane working together. Fine. In this film, even though it would have been more of a retread of last film, it would have made much more sense to make Pedro Pascal the manifestation of the god. Because what you had is you had 100%. Cheetah showing up at the last second. Pedro Pascal's whining his way through this. I would have liked it better if he was just... Pedro Pascal would have worked better if he was just, up until the third act, a voice on the TV screen. You knew nothing else about him. He may have had, except for that interaction where he's like contributing to the Smithsonian, he runs into Kristen Wiig's character. She becomes Cheetah. And you have that, plus you have the inner turmoil with Steve and Diana. That would have worked for me. I didn't care. I did not like either one of these villains. I love Kristen Wiig, and Pedro Pascal I don't know much about except the Community table read. He is fucking brilliant. So on that, he will always have a place.
Give him a 1 for that.
Also, the fact that he had to explain to one of his co-stars in The Mandalorian the whole thing about transgender and non-binary. I'm like, this guy's fucking cool on and off screen.
Sure.
So I really wish they'd done more with this character. I just got tired of his character, and I didn't.
It's not enough, you're saying?
Too much of a muchness, and neither one of them succeeded. So I'm giving him a 0.
All right, that's fair. Right. I get it. Sure.
So that moves to me with Diana Prince, Wonder Woman. Despite her shortcomings at the end, which, as I said, I don't think this movie needed to be as long as it was. And I think it would have been great if they had done what I said before with the villains and focused on her emotional turmoil and having to face reality vis-a-vis what was set up in Themyscira. I thought it would have been a tighter narrative. I thought it would have been more emotionally impactful, and to have her actually combat somebody who was very quiet and reserved and very lovely, who basically, while Diana was going one way, this person was going the other. I thought that would have been a much more interesting dynamic. With that said, I think Gal Gadot just does a lot with what she's given, regardless. I mean, she was the standout. She was basically one of the few things about Dawn of Justice that actually worked. She was great in her first film. She was great in Justice League. I don't think any of Diana Prince's failings had anything to do with her as a character or protagonist. It was all in the script. Gal Gadot does a really wonderful job, I think, with everything she's given. So I'm going to give her 1. I mean, the actress a 1 and the character a 1.
Yeah, I mean, I mostly agree. I don't much more, Adam. Basically, what you said is what I would have said, Chris. Yeah, she's standout. She's always very, very good, and she did the best she could with the script, which is maybe saying more than other actors could have. And I like her coming to this role as Wonder Woman. And I think the one other dynamic is that, like, maybe it flows into, but like I do like that they showed, like, because of the nature of the wish, that she started becoming vulnerable. Like, she could get shot and bleed and stuff, right? Where that wasn't a thing before. So I thought that was a nice touch, at least, and I think she did a good job with that as the plot went along. So yeah, one of the highlights of this film is Gal as Diana, and I'll give her a very strong 1.
You know what I initially thought that was? I thought it was like Dr. Minerva stealing her power, and I thought that's where they were headed with it. And they were like, no, it's a completely unrelated thing.
I could see that. That would have made sense too, right? Would have been a bit more sense, and like that would have been fine. But yeah, I see what you mean.
I mean, I mostly agree with you guys. I think that Gal does a good job in this role, and the character is strong enough. I think that the one thing that annoyed, maybe this is a style thing, but like when they had her flying, it looked so fucking dumb. I don't know if it's the same thing, but it looked so bad.
But yeah, we'll come back to that. Seriously,
yeah.
We'll come back to that.
But overall, I thought they did a pretty good job with this, and it was interesting, like introducing a couple of things that this character for. Excuse me. Sorry, that this character for. Like the flying plane and or the invisible jet, and like they kind of like leaned into the shtick of Wonder Woman more in this, and it wasn't worse for that. So like it was kind of fun. Like, just this is so dumb, but like cool. Now you got an invisible jet. Like, save
it for style though. But yes, again. Like,
but yeah, it all. I think it goes to the way that they're trying to build her character for the next movie and for the rest of the DC movies. And I think they did a fine job with that in this. They could have done better for sure, but it was good enough for a 1 for me. So I'm going to give her a 1.
The flying plane was amazing. Yes.
Yeah.
The flying plane?
Invisible plane?
The flying plane, yes.
Is that what I said initially?
No, Steve-O just said that. I mean,
yeah, Steve-O, that's what you said.
Flying plane. I was thinking of the flying scene and the invisible plane at once.
Yes. Yeah, I got that. It was just like a great thing. You're like, flying plane. I mean, the invisible plane.
We shall.
I was honestly kind of hoping that they would bring back the invisible mug somehow.
Yeah.
Just like, I lost it. Just like they eventually lost that jet that they landed in a cornfield.
Yeah, exactly. That they never found that again. They get a new invisible jet every week.
She had a whole fucking
fleet.
Yeah, exactly.
Just like a random like junkyard full of invisible plane parts.
Airfield full of them. But anyway.
Yeah, I'm gonna give her a 1 as well. Like every time she steps into this role, it's great. And honestly, while I can never not think of Linda Carter as Wonder Woman, I kind of hold them in the same, like they both embody the character.
I think Gal's a great successor, so like give them both credit, in a sense, and that she can like sort of step into the role that Linda Carter is so known for and had made so iconic. And
at this point, to me, they're like how in the comics Earth 2 Superman and Earth 1 Superman are. We just have like an older, more experienced Wonder Woman and like the new kid who's doing just as well.
Yeah.
Yep. Right on.
Cool. So that's wins all around then.
Mm-hmm.
All right, and Steve-O, that moves us to you with supporting characters.
All right, so I guess the biggest one is Steve, Captain, or Pilot Steve.
Captain Chris Pine doesn't even matter.
Chris Pine, he's fine in this. Just like his character means nothing by the end of the movie. Like, all right,
literally disappears.
Hey,
he literally says,
he's free.
I'm already dead before she wishes him away. Or like, I'm already gone, or whatever the hell he says. Like, okay, cool, man. Good thing you were here. Like, this could have been entirely the same movie, but 45 minutes shorter without you, but cool.
You know what this whole thing could have been? And what it should have been? So, like, instead of having everything get wished back to, like, not happening, just have her wake up, and then she hears the shower running, walks in and sees Patrick Duffy.
Yes.
Ridiculous. That's an alternate take.
That's a good.
Or Steve Trevor or Chris Pine. Like they have Chris Pine in the shower.
No. She sees Patrick Duffy, and then it spins around him like 6 times, and then Chris Pine in there. But yeah, like so
it's like I'm quantum leaping now.
Yeah, exactly.
Seriously, he quantum leaped into this.
Yeah. That whole and the way that they did that was like really seemed ham-fisted, but that's style again, so we'll talk about that later. Antiope, Robin Wright's character, however you pronounce it, she's in the movie for about 4 seconds and does a fine job, but like there's not many other supporting characters other than Steve who are very important, other than what's his face's kid, Max's kid. What's his name?
I can't even remember.
Max's kid
starts with an Alistair, I believe. Is
Alistair,
yeah.
Alistair. And by the rules of the film, all the kid had to do is make a wish, like 45 minutes into the film, and the whole film would have.
He tried,
and I don't even understand what the hell happened. Like that never made any sense to me. Right? His wish was, "I want your greatness."
To be as great
and
as
that
you,
was like
Daddy.
The hair blue. You had the whole thing suggesting that he actually made that wish, and then nothing ever happened from that.
I guess it just ensured that he was able to make things go his way.
Yeah, later on, right? Like, I got that too.
I guess so. I don't know.
But also, like, to me. I thought, what really punched me in the heart was when he was going to wish for him to be there for him, and then he like pulled away from him.
Yeah,
he's like, "Whoa, don't waste your wish on that." I'm like, "Oh."
Yeah, actually, that was a
really selfish side. Yeah, like you said.
As somebody who has a dedebeat dad, I agree with you, Rich. I'm like, that really got,
Like, that was a fairly good scene. And, like, Pedro Pascal is, like, acting his guts out at the end of the movie, maybe even overacting to an extent.
They had to tell. They probably had to tell him to, like, dial it back a bit.
Yeah, chill out, man. But, yeah, it's, I just don't see any other supporting character that will get a vote for a 1 other than Chris Pine. Like, could get a vote for a 1 other than Chris Pine. And I'm not sure I'm going to give him a 1 because of what I said earlier. So what do you guys think?
I mean, I'm absolutely in that boat with you. Like, again, I like Chris Pine generally as an actor and many things he's in, but I think it's specific to the story and plot. As you said, that like he's there, like, yeah, it's the emotional struggle for Diana. Like, I get that, sure, but for what purpose he serves, like beyond that, and just in general, it's not to me, it's not enough. Like, it just doesn't work. It doesn't click, like you said, one of you said earlier. It just doesn't connect all the way through, and therefore I think it falls flat enough for me to give it a soft-ish 0, because there's not many other ones. Like you said, Zero, yeah, Max Lord's kid, sure, that's his emotional, like, sort of anchor touchstone, but that doesn't really come into play all that much until like 2 pivotal moments. But the rest of it sort of is dead air, really. Yeah. And you got like all the characters, like all the oil guys, like the people in the oil and Middle East, and then some parody. Like, was the president supposed to be Reagan or just some random like president guy?
I was trying to figure that out too.
You know what?
It was
it wasn't dumb the way they did it. I guess it was supposed to be Reagan, because like Lou said the same exact thing when he watched it. I really didn't.
I couldn't be sure. Like,
read it that way, but like
they should have got Bruce. They should have got Bruce Campbell as Reagan.
I was hoping
he had the best Reagan I've ever seen.
Or Michael Showalter.
Yeah, I was about to say Michael Showalter.
The second Max Lord goes to see, like, he's like, I want a meeting with the president, right? I was like, please be Bruce Campbell. I'm like, oh, it's not. I'm like, is it even supposed to be Reagan as well at the same time? So anyway, so like all of that to say,
comic movies are weird with presidents, though.
yeah, I know. Like I get it. Like I was like, supposed to be Kennedy, like who never went out of office at first. Like what the fuck is even happening? But anyways, I think all that to say, like I'm looking at a softer, solid zero as well for those reasons. For secondary, so that's all for me.
I am going to add Linda Carter's Asteria. Asteria was her name, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I'm going to add her as a secondary character or a supporting character because, like, her presence was felt throughout the entire movie, even if she only showed up at the end.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
But also, I'm not going to get into that. But like,
Please do get into that.
Okay. She, it's like her presence was felt. Her armor was obviously used.
Yeah.
And that, like, her whole story kind of tied into the truth theme that they were trying to throw out there. And that didn't really take off.
I was gonna say, I suppose they wanted it to, right, Rich? Like,
yeah.
It would have been nice if that was the case.
Damn, I brought her in thinking it was gonna help me get a 1, but
yeah, it's cool that you're right. I like that her shadow like sort of is cast over it, but I don't think that's quite enough. And it was very cool and touching that they brought her in, to be in.
You said, like there weren't enough supporting characters that really had a hand in the plot to make anything happen. I mean, just like I guess maybe like the background faceless characters that really served to show us the 80s.
But it didn't really feel like the 80s.
No,
literally window dressing. Like
it felt like a bunch of cosplayers.
Yeah. Yeah.
I agree, and I think that's why you should give it a 0, or at least that's what I'm doing it for.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to do that.
Yeah, it felt like a convention for I love the 80s.
I was waiting for your answer because I'm like, all right, Rich, come on, you brought up Linda Carter. Can you move this along the line for me? And the problem is, again, it comes back to the script. I'll get to,
the thing, Chris. Yeah.
Because the thing is, if you bookended it without having Linda Carter being like, a mid-credit sequence, you started off in Themyscira and you have Robin Wright's character talk about the truth. And then halfway through the film, you have Diana talking about it to Steve about the legend of this woman. And then at the end, have Linda Carter, whose character, meet Diana and basically be like, hi, you've fulfilled the circle. It would have been a circle. It would not have just been a nod. It would not have just been a nod to the audience and be like, hi, I'm this character, which you understand, but she was not integrated into the plot. She was not integrated into the script. She was not integrated into the themes. All the elements were there. All you needed was a better editor, a tighter story, and a tighter character work.
They needed somebody to do a passover on the script to just like tighten things up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if I entirely agree about that though. Like I think that she isn't like her as a person isn't supposed. She's supposed to like be this shadow over in this similar way, but obviously not the same way. But like when you see Thanos at the end of the first Avengers or whatever it was, the first time that they unveiled him.
It was first Avengers.
I think it was the first Avengers. So like it's that same type of thing where it's like you're supposed to get a glimpse of this character and get a little like archaeology behind this character through her set of armor and stuff like that. But this isn't where those two worlds are going to collide yet. So I was fine with that. But that means that she's a less important supporting character in this because this isn't her story yet. Like it's just teasing her story. It's like giving little tidbits of her story until they're ready to do that one.
Well, what they could have also done is if they didn't want to do that, basically have Linda Carter's character be there, even if Diana did not acknowledge her, and then have the mid-credit sequence to find out who she was. Have her be there and not just because the mid-credit sequence, regardless of who she was, it played as a wink, as a nod to the audience more so than as something that was integral to the plot.
Yeah, also,
I agree.
A little, like one of the things that like stuck out to me with that whole scene is that it makes it implies that she's never made any attempt to hide who she is for however many thousands of years that she's been out in the world. Because she's just strutting down the street.
It's a bit of a disconnect, yes.
Yeah, casually catches a telephone pole. She's like, nah, it's whatever. What's your name? Asteria. And it's like, what is that, ancient Greek?
This is what I do. Anyway, I'm going grocery shopping now. Like, what? Like, okay. You're right. That's a funny point. But, I thought that very similar thing to myself, too, when that scene came on. Sure.
So I guess we're all giving it a 0 then, the supporting character.
I am.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay. And that moves to Scott with dialogue.
Another one I'm a bit iffy on. Now, I generally have no problem with it, but it also, was a little, to a degree, stilted, flat, just a little, So, I know, Chris, that you and I like to often say something like, if it's organic and naturalistic enough, then okay, we'll give it a pass, it'll work. And, not that I'm saying it wasn't totally that either, but I'm literally 50-50 split. I'm not sure on this one, but that's how I'm approaching it. There were a few lines I thought, it's pretty good. Some jokes work, especially Kristen Rigg. She sort of, played herself, at least early on, being awkward and, very insecure. Whatever, that worked. That was fine. But, some of the stuff between Gal and Chris Pine got, a little sappy, but I get it. That's what the story was supposed to focus on, at least at those parts of it. So, I don't know, man, I'm still literally flipping the coin on this one. So why don't you guys talk it out amongst yourselves, given that that's my intro, that's my earlier thoughts on it. So go ahead.
Well, I'll jump in. I thought that the dialogue was fairly decent throughout the whole thing. It was snappy enough for me. There were parts where it was a bit preachy, sappy preachy. Yeah. But other than that, it was fine. It wasn't. It earns a 1 for me, just in terms of I think that there's always fairly good jokes in taking somebody out of time and putting him in front of a spaceman or something.
I like that. I like that he had his his whole experience in 1984 mirrored Diana's coming into the world of man
in the first one. Yeah.
They got to have their own versions of that, her with the revolving door, him with the escalator.
Yeah, I think that all worked pretty well. So I'm gonna give it a 1. I think it's strong enough for a 1.
I agree. It's gonna get a 1 from me. I'm right with Scott because like I said, the dialogue's got to be naturalistic, and but I enjoyed the camp of it because it did feed into that fish out of water reversal thing, which I thoroughly enjoyed. So yeah, I'm gonna give it a 1. It wasn't the greatest dialogue, but hey, it was one of the things that actually worked in this movie.
All right, hold up. We got a quick guest coming in.
So I was listening. So the president, who's not maybe Reagan, wishes for the Soviets to get the nukes out. Okay. So did they ever address, I don't know, I was listening to mostly what you guys were saying. Did you address why Wonder Woman sat out World War II?
Yeah.
I think we did.
Why she sat out World War II? No, they don't.
The film does not, so we did not either.
Well,
but yeah.
Judging by the title, they're in World War 84 now. So
yeah,
I'll make that reference too.
Yeah, it's been World War III through 83 at this point. We're on to the next one.
There's been a World War every year since World War I.
I can do an obscure Twilight Zone reference with the monks that kept the devil at bay. That maybe somebody kept Wonder Woman at bay, but I don't know if that's even flying now.
Maybe she had to keep the devil at bay.
Maybe she was in a fist fight with Hitler that entire time.
I think that was in the comics.
He turned out to be the new Ares or whatever. I don't know.
Fucking Ares. What a silly ass thing. All right.
Well, anyway, Rich, what's your final weight on dialogue?
Dialogue, giving it a 1. I also one of my favorite bits throughout the whole movie is how often every time she got hit on, she just nonchalantly just no thanks.
She was fuck
whatever.
I want nothing to do with you. No time for you. You know what? Yeah, I'll give it.
It was always so polite the way that she did it too. She's
not always, but it was always
no. For the most part, either it was either polite or there was an implied hey, if you keep asking, I'm gonna fucking deck you or something.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
That isn't quite as polite as somewhere. But yeah, you're right. Like everything you guys said, like I'll give it the benefit. Like I said, I was wavering anyway, like 50-50 splitting it, that is. And for the most part, nothing I would say was cringeworthy. Most of the jokes landed for them, more or less. And yeah, I'll give it credit there, and I'll give it a 1.
One's all about.
All right, so Rich, it comes to you with style, brother.
Style. Loved the 80s stuff.
I'm with you.
Can't really say like what that did for the story.
like you said, like somebody said, like, did it need to be there? No, but was it cool that it was there? Yeah,
Yeah, I love the. Was not. I don't know if I'm a fan of the armor. I thought maybe I'd like come around to it during the movie, but it was just a little too busy for me.
Well, it was like Cheetah. It was used like kind of like, oh, we got to throw this in there too.
Hold on, I was gonna say, Rich, my joke is gonna do. Are you watching Wonder Woman or fucking Birdman over here? Like Hawkman. Like, what the fuck is happening with this shit?
But yeah, like once, like I liked. I love that they use the lasso a lot more. Like I love like the look at that. Like Steve-O said, the flying was very awkward in the beginning.
Yeah.
But like once they got that down, I think I enjoyed that. And yeah, just there's something that like in a lot of movies and TV shows when they do a period piece where they do like the 80s or 70s or whatever, there's always this level of like cleanliness to like the clothing and the hairstyles that just like look too made up. Sometimes I don't know if you guys like notice that.
Yeah, for sure.
Like it wasn't like it didn't look the clothes and stuff like didn't look lived in on occasion, but
I hear that.
Other than that, I dug it. I'm gonna give it a 1.
Yeah, I mean, I mostly like I said, I think I referenced like it felt like the Thor Ragnarok. So like the color palette is very vibrant, of course. Like the shots were cool. Whether or not you liked how long the opening Themyscira thing was, at least it looked cool. Like it was impressive in that. And Chris, I know, like I'll leave the composer to you because obviously, like it's a very famous one. But like I think that worked because it was who it was. Like that all worked. And like the two things. So sorry, Steve. I'll steal one thing from you, and then leave you for the other one. But I'll go on for Rich Head. Yeah, the flying thing. I noticed. Like I was like, doesn't Wonder Woman fly in the comics? And like they sort of explain like how she like awkwardly, I guess, lassos the clouds or the lightning or whatever, and then like glides down, like whatever. It was like sort of tongue in cheek, and like that's fine. Yes, the armor was a bit much, but that's like it's almost like fucking Flash Gordon 80. Speaking of the 80s shit, like over the top shit, like.
Oh my god!
At the end of it, I was okay with it. Like
I'm just hearing that guitar riff in my head now.
Yeah, that's all I'm saying is like right, like somebody should do a mashup of that. It seems so obvious to me. But all that, having said all that, I think it's overall for me good enough for a solid 1, and maybe one of the second or third stronger point of this film, and I'll give it a 1 as well. Steve-O or whoever else go.
Yeah, I think I agree with that for the most part. I think that. It's interesting that they did that whole scene of her flying, and then 5 minutes later she gets armor with wings on it, and that could have explained her flying the entire time. I don't know why they didn't just have her just go pick that up in the first place and fly away. Like, I honestly didn't mind the armor as much as you guys seem to a little bit, but I thought that looked all right. The flying, like I said, looked weird, but overall I dug the aesthetic. Go ahead.
Sorry, you know what her armor kind of reminded me of? The Monarch's armor that he has.
Shit like that. Exactly.
Venture Brothers.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fair enough.
where they had to like wheel him out because he can't really move in it.
Yeah.
Yeah. It looked ungainly, is all I'm saying as well.
It did. But like that's armor for you. Any armor is like any suit of armor is like looks like you can't freaking.
And honestly, like they even explained it kind of in the story where they're just like, hey, like every single Amazon melted down their armor to make this.
Yeah.
So it makes sense that she just like walks out like. Who's like really just there to like hold the line. So
yeah, at least they explained that.
Yeah, it works.
Sure.
But yeah, I liked it. I think they might have missed an opportunity to have some like good deep cut 80s songs on this soundtrack. But other than that, like obviously the score was really good, and I'll let you talk about that in a minute, Chris, if you're interested. But yeah, I dug the overall vibe of the movie and the style, so I'm gonna give it a 1 for style as well.
When the movie ended, Beth asked me what I thought. And I said it felt like the first draft that an editor presents the studio and then goes back 5 or 6 more times and narrows the thing down, which has been a complaint of mine since the beginning of this. This is not unprecedented. The fact that editing was a huge part of why, this movie failed. As far as her armor, I really wanted her to do what the Valkyries did in God of War and go boo and spin around.
Oh my God.
That would have been amazing, especially given Cheetah's attack. I thought the CGI was really weak. I got more uncanny valleys, and this is one of the things that bother me about CGI reliant films and which is why, especially Ian and I will also always give credit for practical effects, is because this was like seeing, it's just like we're getting the thing with like the Spider-Man, the first 3 Spider-Mans of the Sam Raimi one, where we're almost there, we're not quite there. And this felt like a callback to that. Hans Zimmer score. Hans Zimmer is, one of my huge influences.
Motherfucking Hans Zimmer. Like, what are you gonna do?
I went to see him live, and I did like how he teased the theme and variation, Scott. I thought his score is very, very good. The problem with this film is, after this film, Beth and I started watching Glow, which takes place during the 80s. And you got some deep cut songs. There is one thing that Mark Maron's character, the shirt he's wearing, I know what fabric it is, and I could feel that shirt because I had something similar at the time.
Nehru jacket over there?
Yeah, and the thing, no, it wasn't a Nehru jacket. It was this one T-shirt I had. Well, Nehru was even before that time. But again, I kind of felt like this was an 80s gimmick more so than, an actual immersion. I didn't feel that. It was neat. It was like, yeah, I remember that. And then I would get caught like, did they have those coffee toppers back then? Because remember, as the elder of this group, those were my high school years, my middle school and high school years. And I've been a coffee drinker, literally been a coffee drinker thanks to my grandparents and a Demi-Tasse cup since I was 4. So I drank a lot of coffee, and I was trying to figure out that the coffee cups, like I'd get caught on anachronisms, whether or not they were anachronisms. And to be honest with you, sorry guys, I'm giving this a 0. It didn't work. It came close, but and I appreciated a lot of the 80s aesthetic. There was kind of a grainy element to it. But I cannot get past the editing of this film for any other complaints I have.
Totally fine, buddy. Yeah.
This film, the editing, it really needed to be a tighter film, and it wasn't there. So I'm gonna have to give it a 0.
That's fine. So
P.S. Chris's lifetime coffee drinking habit is why he's 4.5 feet tall. Anybody meets him in real life.
I'm 5'10", motherfucker.
Difficult to tell on air, but no. So
yeah, but you could have been 6 foot.
Yeah, exactly.
Think of what you lost,
man.
Just
and
like
if I was a C-section, I might have been smarter than I am. So
it's like the Wishmaster. You lost so much by granting.
Oh my God! Is that what happened to the guy that wished for that cup of coffee?
I think so.
I guess we'll find out in the next film.
If he's the villain for the next movie, I'm here for it.
I hope he's like a henchman or something.
Yeah.
All right, maybe I started drinking coffee when I was 5, but still, I was like the kids in England that used to drink gin when they were a first kid. I've been drinking coffee since I was a kid.
All right. Well, I had one final thing about style, since one of you brought it up earlier. It was the invisible plane thing, which I thought was like, I've been thought to myself, like, are they going to do the invisible plane, and if so, how? And like, apparently, it's one of a power that Deanna can concentrate on and like make things invisible. And like, I was like, you know what? That's fine. Like,
I mean, it works. Like making her dad Zeus and like. He's got more powers than Superman, so
yeah. Sure.
It just makes sense that you would get a little bit of it.
It was a nice touch, and the guy's like, "Holy shit, the plane just disappeared!" And I was like, "Yeah, I'm cool with it. Like, let it ride." Literally,
whatever. Yeah.
Sure.
So everybody's giving it a 1, and I'm giving it a 0.
I think that's correct.
That is correct. Okay. Which brings me to recommend, and it breaks my heart, but I cannot recommend this film. It's got. I mean, if you're interested in following the DCU. you're going to watch it.
Anyway.
I am glad I watched Glow after this, because in the bullshit industry that is the entertainment industry and the bullshit that is our world, women don't often find agencies. You know, as a heterosexual white man, I can tell you we've owned the world way too much. But by the same token, being fair and actually watching Glow, which has a lot of female agency in it, behind the scenes, it breaks my heart, because I loved the first Wonder Woman. Going back, I realized it's got more faults than I thought, and War was a weaker character than I originally thought. But I really wanted to love this film. And as I was watching it, I really wanted to like this film. And it wasn't like it was a bad film. It had a lot of parts that didn't click. And I think it goes back to the story, goes back to editing. We often say that character is the most important thing. And that's true, but you do need a narrative that ties it together to the extent where the characters can shine. And they did not, to the extent, so I'm going to have to not recommend this film.
Yes. If somebody asked me like, hey, should I watch 84? I'll be like, maybe, sure, I guess, I probably won't watch it again, and definitely not anytime soon. So yeah, I didn't hate it. It was a fine ride while I was on the ride, but afterwards, I'm like, there's so many other better rides to check out. And whatever, you know what I mean? So I might end up giving it a soft 0. Like you said, Chris, it doesn't break my heart. I'm just like, it's all right, whatever, pretty much. So that's where I'm sitting. So what do you guys think, Chris or Steve-O, Rich?
Well, I don't know. That's kind of why, that's how I feel about why I'm going to give this a very soft 1 on recommend. I enjoyed myself, and everybody that I've talked to, other than maybe Chris, has said they enjoyed themselves while they were watching this movie. So I look at it like, hey, it seems like most people are just going to have fun with it and not fucking break its balls as much, to use a phrase, but not break it down as much as we have been doing. And if you're just looking for a popcorn movie, I think this is a good, fun movie to watch. So go ahead and check it out. It's not, it does it for me in terms of if I'm looking for something dumb to put on, to spend a couple hours on a Saturday afternoon when I'm before I go out, or if I'm well, obviously I'm not going out right now, but very much. But if I'm looking for something to do on a lazy afternoon, this is a fine movie for that. And I'll probably watch parts of it again several times over the next couple years, just because it'll be on at some point, and I'll just be like, okay, it's fine, it's inoffensive, I'll just watch it. So I'll give it a recommend for that.
Same here. Would I recommend it? Yes. Would I watch it again? Maybe. But if I have to choose between the first one and the second one, I'll probably watch the first one over again.
Yeah.
And that's the other thing is, it was fine when it was with the romp. And if you're into this stuff, Beth recommend, my father-in-law wanted to see it. So we gave, he has our HBO Max, whatever. But he wanted to see it because he enjoys this stuff. Like I said, it breaks my heart, not just because but because Wonder Woman has been the saving grace this entire time. If there's one positive about the DCEU, it has been Wonder Woman.
Sure.
And I really, but one of the things about doing this for coming on 6 years is I've been trying to learn objectivity. And my thing is, if you're into this stuff, you're going to watch it. If anybody says, hey, who's not into this, I'm going to be like, dude, I would, watch the first Wonder Woman. It's fantastic. And if you like that, then whatever. But if you're going to ask me cold, it's not anything I'm going to be going to tell people how much I enjoyed it, because it was fun while I was there. It just didn't last with me.
That's pretty much how I felt. So yeah, good summation. That's why I'm giving it a softer 0, but I'm just not quite going to recommend it though.
Alrighty. So I know Steve-O's got the scores, but I'm going to do my best to remember. Steve-O and we pretty much agreed on a lot of things. Steve-O and I gave it each a 1 for plot. Scott and Rich gave it 2. Yep. Everybody seemed to agree on style but me. And when it came to recommend, Scott and I were the zeros, and Steve and Rich were the ones. I was the curmudgeon with a 3. And if my math works, everybody else gave it a 5. Or does everybody else give it a 4?
We all gave it 1s to protag for sure.
Hold on. I have...
You have a widely different
I have Rich as a 7.
Sorry.
Me and Scott as 6s, and you as a 3.
Oh, fuck. Okay. Then I really
correct,
screwed this up.
Terrible math.
Did I get? Wait, I thought we all gave supporting zeros.
We did.
We all right. The things we agree. The one thing we all gave 1s on was dialogue and protagonist. All right, that's right. Y'all like the antagonist. That's right.
Yeah,
I was the only one to give antagonist a 0.
And style. So, and then, yeah.
All right, I was the fucking old curmudgeon on this one. So
7, 6, 6,
3.
So Steve, what's our aggregate?
Hold on, I just had to try and figure all that out. So give me a minute here.
7, 6, 6, 3. Was like 10 and 12.
Yeah.
Divided by 4.
I got it. It's coming up.
If only we had Wonder Woman to do this math for us.
Jesus Christ. Yeah, it's gonna be 5.75, I believe.
Yeah, that's fine.
The aggregate score.
It's just teetering above average, and I think that is true. I don't know.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. It's not 5.75. It's 5.5.
That's fine too. Yeah. Either way,
The irony of it is you guys talked me out of 2 of my 1s. I'm going to give it a 4 or 5. And, supporting character, I was positive I was going to give a 1 to. I was like, at least I'm going to give this thing a 4. I think it was Rich who talked me out.
There you go. Hey, man, you never know what's going to happen on the podcast.
Sometimes I walk in, sometimes you walk in thinking you're going to give this a higher score. You give it a lower score, vice versa.
They're saying 84 equals 5.5.
Which speaking of this thing, when we did Aquaman, Rich, Louie, and I went in there. I think we were each in our heads going to give it a 7, but we talked each other into it. So we talked to each other into our negative. So ultimately, I think we all gave it a 9, just because we talked each other up.
Sure.
All the things that we were going to give zeros to. Because I remember when we got done with it, I heard Steve in the next room going, "You gave it a 9."
Yeah. Yeah.
So we got a 5.5 on it. And does anybody have anything else to add?
No, I think that'll do it.
That's going to do it.
All right. Well, everybody, thank you for joining us and sticking out with us. My name's Chris Morgan. I'm here with my own little Justice League, Stephen Hermosi.
Thanks. I renounce my partners in the podcast.
Scott Thurlow.
And I'm going to go get not invisible plane, but invisible car, of course, and drive away.
And Richard Perry.
I'm going to wish for my pizza to get here quicker.
All right.
Nice.
Everybody, have a happy new year, a better 2021. Stay safe, and we'll see you next time.
Cheers.
Hey.
Editing and engineering by Stephen Hermosi. Music by Christopher Morgan. Check us out on YouTube and iTunes for the shows, and on Facebook and Twitter for updates. Or mods?